Welcome to Dizzy Red Panda Knits, where we get a little bit dizzy and overenthusiastic about our crafty and creative processes. I think that's the easiest way to explain that.
Hi, I'm Cheryl on Ravelry as Red and on Instagram as Red Knitter, and I'm outside of St. Paul, Minnesota.
I am Katie. I'm known as Nerdy in Plaid, all one word, on Ravelry and Instagram, which are my main two social medias. And I am located at the very tip of Lake Superior, so if that's the lake, I'm the middle finger. So I'm way up north. I suppose we should talk about how you and I met. Cheryl and I met in grad school, where we were both pursuing the same English master's degree. And I saw Cheryl knitting all the time in the TA office, and she got me re-addicted that way.
Yeah, I'm a bad influence like that.
Terrible, terrible influence.
And then we've kept talking about our knitting as I've moved across the country and back. And here we are in the same state, but not in the same city.
Which is just fine. Someday,
Yep.
Sometimes we're in the same city, but not often.
Sometimes we are.
So we thought we would try recording a podcast and see what happens and see if we can get anybody else involved. And we're both listening to a lot of podcasts and watching a lot of podcasts. And we thought, well, we like to talk about knitting. We like other knitters and crafters. And so we thought we might as well
anyway.
join in.
We Skype anyway.
Join in and see what happens.
So be kind to us on this first episode as we figure out the technology and what the heck we're doing.
Should we jump in?
Let's talk about knitting.
All right. So we are going to include, because Cheryl and I are both multi-craftual in very different ways, well, maybe not so different ways, but a few different ways. We're just going to group things in our finished objects and things that we're working on, and maybe things that we plan to work on as we talk about those as well. So it's not just knitting, it's going to include a whole bunch of different things, hopefully, if we can divide our time right. Do you want to start with your finished objects? Because yours looks really interesting.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so I only have knitting finished objects this time. Hopefully other stuff later. So the first one I have today, see if I can get this on camera, is this little sweater for my kiddo. So I have a little boy who's 17 months old right now. And this is the Tak hoodie, T-A-K, in the 1 year size, because they had 1 year and they had 2 year. So I did the 1 year size. He's a little small for his age anyway, so that's just fine. And I used a little over 2.5 skeins of Barocco Comfort DK on this one. In this, it's called, what was it? AGNC. Yeah, AGNC. This nice teal. My kid has blue eyes, so brings out his blue eyes. And then I've got these buttons from Joanne. Oh, is that in focus? I think it's maybe in focus. Mm-hmm. So this was like a nice solid basic pattern. Like you can see, it's just stockinette. It's got garter borders on the hems and around the hood. It's a raglan sleeve, and it's also, the pattern is just for the DK sport weight, but then she's also got it in, I think, in fingering and in either worsted or Aran. So there are a couple differences, but those are like separate patterns that you would have to buy. And then the way that it's put together, it's basically just like a top-down raglan that, you know, without the hood on it. And then you go back and you pick up the stitches and you knit the hood from there.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know that it's my favorite way to do things, honestly. Like, so as I was knitting this, I was comparing it to Lily's Little Sweater by Carol Anderson, who's really popular around here. Yeah, it's a really solid pattern. And I think I prefer her way of doing a hood, so that when you start with the hood and you turn it kind of like a heel and then you go from the top down. And I think I prefer that way of doing things better, but it's written for worsted weight. I didn't really want to do math. And I wanted a lighter weight sweater for summer. So this is what I did. But I think, if I were okay with worsted, I'd probably do the Lily sweater instead.
That is a super cute sweater, and I
Yeah.
admire you for sewing on all those buttons because I hate doing that.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to talk about buttons. So I think it has 8 of them on this one, and then I've got a spare tucked in. And I'm just like not super thrilled with these buttons because Joann Fabrics does not seem to really carry buttons anymore. Like they used to have a decent selection of buttons and now there's hardly anything to choose from.
Interesting.
It's really frustrating. Yeah. And that was my main source.
Has a really decent selection.
Yeah, maybe not for long. Just saying.
Because, I need to build up my button stash, really.
Right, I know you have a real dearth of buttons over there.
Yes, I do.
So I don't know, like these ones are okay. They're just like a silver, pretty basic button, but
I think they're
special
really
either.
I didn't think like, oh, that's an ugly button. I'm like, oh, that's a good standard button to go on something.
Yeah, it's fine. It's just like it's a pretty plain sweater, so it would have been nice to do some cutesy buttons,
Absolutely.
And they didn't have the options, so that was too bad. But it works. It'll be fine, and it's like super washable yarn, super inexpensive yarn. Like this
really?
did not cost very much to make. Yeah, it was like $3.75 a ball, and I used about 2.5 balls for this. So, you can't complain about that. That's nice for little kids.
Go get dirty, kid. Go get dirty.
Exactly. Yes, he can feel free. He's all about playing in the sand. So yeah, that's my first FO this episode.
I really like it.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I honestly have not tried it on him yet. I'm just assuming it will fit and be great.
Well, considering it's in the 90s down by you, I don't blame you. You're not trying.
Well, so I was envisioning it being like a summer evening sweater, like by the lake thing, but then it's been so hot that hasn't even been necessary. So hopefully it still fits him in the fall because he may not have opportunity to wear it until then.
Well, and I suspect he's going to grow taller before he's going to grow out.
Probably.
And you and your husband are tall people, so I kind of expect that.
Yeah, probably. And he's a shorty right now.
For now.
He'll get to it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I have one other finished object this week, and that I feel like I need to zoom out. Can you see all of it?
Yes, that's stunning.
Yeah. So this is called the Protest Cap in parentheses Norway on Ravelry.
Okay.
So it's kind of weird. This was part of my over the winter I was trying to do some stash busting, and my stash is like there are like 2 different categories. Like I have my pretty skeins that I bought, at events or on vacation or my friends gave to me or whatever. And then I have a ton of just partial skeins. And so I was trying to use those up. And this was part of that project. So I knit a ton of hats this winter. This was the last one in my list because I was trying to knock out a bunch of Christmas knitting. So this will be a Christmas gift for my husband's uncle who has a giant head. Like this is the size of a baby vest. You could have just steeked
my goodness.
And made a vest out of it. And like, it's too big for my child right now. My 1-year-old child. It is enormous. But I've tried it on my dad who also has a giant head. And he's like, yeah, this is great. This fits perfectly. So what are you going to do?
Heads come in all different sizes.
They do indeed. Yeah. So hopefully it fits him. But I picked this pattern because it was based on a historical hat that was worn to protest the Nazi occupation of Norway. And my husband's family is very proud of their Norwegian heritage. So I know that his uncle will be all about this. And it has this ridiculous tassel.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it.
So
and
it'll like
red
fold
with
over.
The cast on too.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of like a little bit different, like not just a plain Norwegian snowflake pattern, but it's really really basic pattern on Ravelry because it's listed as part of a book, but from what I understand it's not actually in the book. So I feel comfortable showing this. Like this is just in someone's project notes that they like got scanned from the author of the book.
Interesting.
So there's not a whole lot there, but it's enough to make a hat out of. And I should say this is way bigger than the actual, like the hat pattern. So
Okay.
I cast on more stitches. I don't remember how many more, but it does not turn out this ginormous.
Got it.
So.
You do
Yeah.
beautiful color work though. Like you
Thank
are much more
you.
comfortable doing color work than I am. And
Yeah.
you are very, very good at it.
I like doing color work. It's one of my favorite kinds of knitting, I think. So yeah, that's my FOs this time. What do you have?
I have a baby sweater. I do not have a child. I'm not expecting a child. I just know a lot of people who have children, and so I like to knit for them. So I found I did the Norwegian fur sweater. Let's see if I can back up a little bit.
Oh, that's so pretty.
And I saw somebody else doing it, and I'm like, well, that looks interesting. I might as well give it a shot. It's by OGE Knitwear Designs, who I hadn't really heard of, but once you click into her Ravelry page where you can see all of her designs, I just added a whole bunch more to my cart. And because they're classic shapes, but they have, and classic designs, but they're not boring. They have something interesting, whether it's a piece of lace or some interesting striping or things like that. So I have a feeling that I'm going to be knitting her stuff more. I used Plymouth Select DK, which is a superwash DK weight. And I like using that a lot for kids stuff. This is my first time using this yarn. It's in the straw colorway, so it's the most boring of beiges. There is a theme in my knitwear right now of the most boring of beiges. But I really liked how it works. I don't often copy the color of like the pattern picture, but I really liked it, how simple it was. It's a garter stitch sweater, and it's raglan with a bit of lace. And lace is something that I don't consider myself overly good at, but it requires a bit more thought and concentration than I really think that I can do. So I often think, oh, I understand how this pattern works. I can totally not look at the pattern or the chart. And then I screw it up. And then I did, and I don't believe in using lifelines because I like to live on the edge, and like that's how I am. So I had to drop down and fix part of the lace, but that was really easy to do. But it was a great little pattern. One of the mods that I did was I hate knitting garter in the round like many people do. So I knit the sleeves flat and I seamed them. I also don't like seaming things, but I'm like, what do I hate more? Do the least evil. So they're fine. I do really love my buttons because the button selection at my LYS is awesome. So I'm going to hold that up.
Oh,
it's a
so
little
cute.
tiny bird. And these birds, these are handmade buttons, and these come in sets of 5. So I have a couple of more of these, and they come in different colors as well. So I'm like slowly collecting all the colors just to use because I love using them. So that's that one.
Love it.
I should note that the yarn is a little bit splitty, but I tend to use really sharp needles. I think if I did this sweater again using this yarn, I would probably use like a haya or a wooden needle, something with a blunter tip. But it didn't bother me at all. The second finished object I have is actually a spinning finished object. I just came back from a week at my cabin where I brought my spinning wheel and I did a whole bunch of spinning. I'm going to try to hold it up to the camera so you can kind of get some of the color. It looks pretty washed out. It's like what you call a plain blue jean. And I'm a little disappointed in that.
Why?
The fiber is from Hip Strings, which you introduced me to actually, because she was out of Pittsburgh. Yep. And this is a merino silk blend. And so I bought it because it was called Lakeshore. And if you name something after a fandom I'm interested or something lake-like, I'm all about that. I am an easy consumer. So there were lots of varying blues, both dark and medium and light. There was some pops of brown in there for like the shore part. And then obviously the silk is white. And I felt like once I spun it up, I got, and especially once I spun it and then plied it, I did chain ply on this and I got about 244 yards, which I'm really proud of,
nice.
of a sport weight fingering weight. So I'm working on it, but I felt like the silk kind of just frosted over all of those other colors. So it made it less kind of tonal, semi-tonal, and just made it more of a solid. So I'm a little disappointed in that, and that's something I'll learn. It's okay.
I think it's still really pretty though.
I like it.
Yeah.
So that's all my finished objects. What are you working on?
I brought a couple things I'm working on. Okay, so I feel like I should say that I tend to be a little more monogamous than Katie. Do you think that's
I wouldn't
fair?
say a little bit more monogamous. I would say you have the ability to focus on one project at a time and actually complete that project in a way so you see your finished objects faster.
Yeah, well, so
I'm as promiscuous as they come with my projects.
And I used to be that way when I worked at a yarn shop, but I think not being surrounded by it all the time has made me focus a little bit more. I don't know. I think it's more situational.
So Cheryl used to work at our local yarn shop, and I do now. I've been there for about 6 years. How long were you there?
I think around 5 when I left. Mm-hmm. I think it was around 5. Yeah.
So we were never there at the same time, and we both taught classes there. So we have a teaching background, not only in what we do in our daytime jobs, but also in knitting too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we can break down a pattern pretty easily, I think.
Yeah.
I think anyway.
Well, I'm not even using a pattern for this one, so. So I'm just doing some little plain, see if I can find it on the camera, some plain socks. Like they look teensy because it's 2x2 rib, and my socks are normally over 60 stitches, so like they are kind of small. So this is with Arnie and Carlos stuff. Again, let me see if I can. So it's pretty like pinks and blues.
It looks like candy to me.
Yeah, kind of like cotton candy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I got this on vacation. When I see Arnie and Carlos like at a yarn shop that I'm visiting, I tend to pick some up because like it can be hard to find colorways that you like in stock. And then it's Absolutely. Like I know I like it. It's not going to just sit around, like I'm going to knit it up. So I'm just doing some plain socks out of that. I honestly don't even know what I'm going to do for a heel. I haven't decided yet. I'll figure it out when I get a few more inches in, but this has just been my like on the go knitting. I've been doing some volunteering lately and had some downtime there. So this has been what I brought along. But the interesting part, the reason why I'm actually talking about this today is because I'm using the Flexi Flip.
I noticed that.
Needles from Addie. And this is my first project using them.
Okay.
And I don't think I'm far enough to make a judgment call.
Okay.
Like I'm only, an inch and a half into these socks. But so far I do like them. Because I'm a double point sock knitter, like 100% all the way. I've tried pretty much every way of knitting socks that you can knit socks, and I like my double points. And these are like, slightly more advanced double points, I guess. But it's nice that you're only switching needles, after half your sock stitches instead of after a quarter of them. So
yeah, I'm curious to know what you're going to think of those because I've tried them here. We have a sample in the shop, and I'll work on like a row just to kind of see what I think. And I find that those Flexi Flips are very polarizing. You either love them or you don't. And so I'm curious to know what you think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not that I don't. I can tell you that much because I've knit enough to know that I don't hate them.
Okay.
It's just a matter of whether I like them enough that they become like they go into my rotation of sock needles. And sock needles are definitely where I tend to buy needles because I always use size zeros. So like if I see a neat new kind of needle, I'm going to pick it up in a size 0.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited to see, how they go for the rest of the sock. And I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do about that heel because I'm just really not sure. So the other thing that I'm working on right now, I didn't really bring like the actual project. I brought the fabric for it.
Oh, that's so pretty.
Yeah. So this is a heart print fabric that I'm just making a t-shirt out of, and I'm using the Deer and Doe Plaintain pattern. So they're one of the independent pattern companies that people are really into lately. But it's a free pattern. So that's nice. And I don't think I've used anything from this company before. So this will be a nice way to try them out. But I'm kind of on the lookout for a good t-shirt pattern because I pretty much hate the t-shirts I can buy in the store. So I'm looking for a good t-shirt pattern. And this one kind of flares out at the hip, which is nice because I have a baby, which means I have a little bit of a tummy there. And so it's nice to kind of camouflage that. But I thought this was sort of cute. It looks kind of like something you might buy at Loft, which is one of my favorite stores. And then it's sort of like a really thin French terry. Like it has these little loops on the backside, but I wouldn't call it like a normal French terry because it's so thin. So it's sort of a weird fabric, but I think it'll make a fun t-shirt. So that's just going to be a short sleeve one so that I can wear it year round because I do, cardigans in the winter and everything. So I'm excited for that. I'm partway through it, and I figured if I talked about it here, maybe I would actually finish the thing because I am having trouble sitting down to the sewing machine these days.
And we should let our people watching know that Cheryl sews a lot, and she does beautiful, beautiful garments, and they look so easy. And I aspire to one day be able to sew in a straight line. But both Cheryl and her mom do beautiful work as well. So are you there?
Well, you did buy that fabric, so
I have bought several.
Right,
so this I should just say, this is how I do things. I have great aspirations, but I don't have as much time as I think I do. So I have material for a couple of dresses and a couple of skirts. Have I done anything with that? No.
You need to just come down here and we'll have a weekend of it.
I think that might be what I have to do.
Yeah, I think that's our best bet.
I have to see my best friend and her family and my favorite little kid.
Oh, darn.
Oh, darn.
We'll put it on the calendar. Okay, what are you working on?
I only have knit projects right now. I'm trying to finish things because I'm really terrible at that. My partner asked me, made the mistake, had the guts. I don't know how to say that. But he's like, every time I see you, you're working on a different project. Are you finishing things that quickly? And I laughed.
Honey, don't worry about it.
The size of my stash, it doesn't matter. He's a woodworker, so he's got a whole basement full of planks and stuff. And then he asked, so how many unfinished projects do you have on the needles? And I'm like, you're never going to find out. So this is actually from last year, and I'm teaching this as a class this year. So I thought maybe I should pick it up and finish it with a class. So this is the body of the French can. I am a bigger lady, obviously, so I make my shawls a bit bigger. This pattern is by Mademoiselle C, like the letter C. And it's been out for a while. It's a simple crescent shaped shawl with a garter stitch body. I don't know if you can, I'm doing it in a forest green. It's actually called Boreal. It's a Quince & Company chickadee pattern. And then, so it's a simple garter stitch shawl, and it's really easily adjustable, which I love. And this is my third one of this shawl that I've made. So I wear them quite a bit because they're really easy just to toss around your neck or around your shoulders. And I've just started the applied edging. So we've got a little bit of lace right there, and then this beautiful French braid cable pattern with a picot that you do on the at the same time. So I haven't gotten very far, which is why I put it down. But I love, this is a really great cable pattern if you've never done cables before, because it's only a 9-stitch cable going across, and you're only ever working to cable 3 stitches at a time.
Nice.
So I think it does a really great job of teaching cables, and it's not overwhelming. One of the mistakes that I think that it's easy to fall into, and I've done this several times, is when you're working on an applied edging shawl. When you get to the applied edging, you can't consider yourself mostly done. You're halfway done. And I think because I also made the shawl much, much longer, and I have all those stitches to disappear, I think that's why I stalled on this. But I do love this pattern, and I'm going to keep working on it. I'm hoping that I can finish it this month, so then I can use that yardage. I informally do stash dash. So I can use that 700 yards and reclaim a project bag that has angry kitties on it. So, the second project that I'm working on, I'm going to show you the yarn first, so here's the beige project of Doom. This is Cumulus by Juniper Moon Farm, and let's see if we can focus in. It is a cotton, like a 95% Mako cotton, I think, with 5% nylon, and it's really loosely spun. It's
that's
kind of like a
interesting.
chain ply, but not a chain ply. It's a really weird yarn. However, I normally don't like cotton. I love this stuff. It's beautiful and soft. It's hand wash only. And it's considered like an Aran weight, and it's fluffy. So there's 248 yards on 100 gram skein.
Wow.
Whereas if you have, and it's pretty fluffy, versus a Cascade Ultra Pima has about 220 yards on it, and it's really tightly plied. And that's sometimes considered, yardage wise, that's considered a worsted weight, but when you knit with it, it's really more of a sport weight or a DK weight. So this is definitely a true Aran worsted weight. And I love this yarn so very much. It's very soft and it doesn't really hurt my hands. Okay, so I am knitting, oh, look at me not clipping my ends. I'm knitting the Weekender sweater by Andrea Mowry, the ever popular designer at the moment. And I just finished the body.
Oh, wow.
So it is a big beige thing. It's a bottom-up sweater, so you started by doing a split hem and joining, and then it has like the slip stitch pattern.
I like
and
that
then
detail
on reverse
a lot.
stockinette. However, you knit the whole thing inside out, which I love. So I
Thank
basically
God.
started with like 16 inches of stockinette in beige. I was not terribly interested, but I liked, my mom wanted to make this sweater really badly, and so we're doing knit along together so that I can help her out. And she's doing a beautiful forest green, which is way more interesting to look at, honestly. But she's doing a really great job. I talked her through how to do Kitchener over the phone one day, and she's like, are you cooking dinner? I'm like, yeah, I can talk you through Kitchener. It's okay. She had a gin and tonic, like it worked.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So I just finished the body. I'm going to put short sleeves on this. It does come on the pattern for long sleeves, but I'm intending this to be a summer sweater.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit on the short side. I tried on the body. It's a little bit on the short side. It hits me at a really weird place, but I'm hoping that it's cotton. Once I block it, it will give it a little bit of length. We'll see. Otherwise, I'm going to just cut off the cast on, knit an extra inch or two down, put it back on.
It's cotton. It'll probably grow.
I'm really hoping that it
grows. I bet it will.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, the neckline was futzy enough. Like you knit two, you split for the arms, and then you actually end up using 3 different needles on the neckline, which I got really irritated with. I understand why she does it, because it sucks everything in so you don't have a boat neck, but I thought it was an overly tedious technique for what it needed to be, because you end up splitting your ribbing and then Kitchenering it together while having your shoulder seams on a separate needle, plus the stitches on the back or the front, the side that you're not working on.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I was like, I'm a little over this, but
yeah,
we are now in product mode. That's all. But it's a really wearable piece, and I like it.
You're gonna have to take an adorable mother-daughter photo shoot when you guys finish your sweaters.
Well, she likes it so much that she wants to knit another one.
Awesome.
I'm not going to do that with her. But she understands the pattern now and what it's asking for, and doing gauge swatches. She's a much better gauge swatcher than I am. She did like a good square piece, and I was like this big, and I measured it when it was still damp, and it's supposed to be an oversized sweater, so it'll work.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's totally fine. All right, so that's what parts of what we're working on. I would say that's maybe what's getting the most love right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's fair to say. Anything else you want to talk about? Can I put you on the spot?
I don't know if I have anything else this week.
Okay. I was wondering, so I like listicles, which are basically like, you see these on BuzzFeed, and Real Simple is like 7 things to make your whole life easier, blah, blah, blah. Like, they're not supposed to be intellectually challenging. And it's summer. So I was wondering if you had any crafting goals for the summer, whether it's things you wanted to make, something that you wanted to work with, an event you wanted to participate in, any of those?
Oh, let's see. Well, so I was just on vacation for a week at a cabin, and so I wanted to do some chill knitting there and just
Nice.
like enjoy myself. So I accomplished that, and that was amazing. I was hoping to have this baby sweater done by then in case we needed it at the cabin, and we maybe could have used it, but it got done while we were there, and then it was like 90 degrees the next day. So that's just how it goes. And I am working on just getting some whips done. Like my hat had been lingering for a while, so it's good to have that done. And then I'm picking up some cross stitch actually that has been sitting around for ages. So I have one that I finished while we were at the cabin that I just need to do like the actual finishing work. Like the actual cross stitching is done, but I need to do the finishing work so it looks nice. So maybe I'll have that for our next episode. To show off. So that's nice to get out the door. Like I just want to get things moving along and I don't know, simplify.
Absolutely. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't work in the summer. I'm a teacher, and so I have the summer off. So I plan way more. That's pretty clear. I plan way more things that I want to accomplish than the time that I have. So I wanted to do things like organize my stash so that it wasn't insane. Okay. So that it made sense. Let's try that. I did that. I did a pretty good job of that, except I'm still finding yarn in really random places. And I don't know why. I mean, it's not like in the bathroom or things like that, but I'm like cleaning off my desk and then, oh, look, I have a skein of yarn, or I'm going through and I have like this giant, like quite literally, it is giant skein of yarn. This is going to become a blanket. So I keep finding things. I'm informally doing a stash dash just because I want to finish whips. That's mostly what it is. My goal is maybe to try for a 7K, but it's really more finishing like half the whips I have. And then I have a couple of crafts that I wanted to try. I wanted to try weaving because I've never tried weaving before, and I wanted to for a really long time. So I did. I took a class when classes ended in April. It was like the next day, right before finals week. And I took a weaving class, maybe not the best brain space for that. It's okay. I understand why people like it, but maybe it's not for me. And then I also wanted to try machine knitting because I hate hand knitting baby blankets, like hands down. I love blankets, but I hate hand knitting them. Let's be realistic. So I took a class on machine knitting, and I am hopelessly addicted just to making rectangles. Like I have no aspiration of making a sweater. I just want to make rectangles. So I have done several panels, and I'm putting edging stuff on now. And I really like that. And then I wanted to do some more spinning because I got away from my spinning wheel in the earlier part of the year, and I like it. I have a wheel. Well, I have 2 wheels, and I really like them. So I would say I'm making progress, not like whipping through things, but getting there.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Anything else?
I think that does it for today.
All right. Well, show notes will be down below. And I'm just going to link to our Ravelry pages because we're both really good at putting our projects in. We're both members of Harry Potter Knit and Crochet House Cup. So you have to do that. So I think that's gotten me in the habit of that. And then you can find us both on Ravelry and all of our Instagrams as well.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for joining us today.
Bye.
Bye.